Welcome to Kaywon Action Star. Watch.
What's the problem?
Oh, just a full-on code redneck. Hey, bye!
For a second, I thought we were going hiking.
Got Kim down here.
You're kidding.
Howdy.
Fuck, man.
The sheriff, he hasn't been accommodating thus far. We're looking for a friend of ours who's up in the mountains.
Get the gun off the girl.
The story kicks off with two cops, Lee and Rhodes, staking out a drug cartel's hideout. Before they move in, Lee hands Rhodes a watch as a keepsake. However, when they storm the place, it's completely empty. Confused, they step outside to check the perimeter, unaware that the criminals are hiding in a secret room inside the building. Suddenly, the gang ambushes them, Lee gets shot, and Rhodes retaliates, taking down most of the attackers. But one of them stabs Rhodes, turning the tables. Just when things seem dire, Lee steps in and takes out the last enemy. Realizing the building is about to explode, he urges Rhodes to run. Rhodes barely escapes, but Lee isn't so lucky, he dies in the explosion. Fast forward 4 months, and we find ourselves in Nevada, where police are chasing a gang of robbers who just pulled off a heist. However, their communication system gets hacked, allowing the criminals to escape. The crew, led by a man named Banks, has stolen a whopping $10 million from a casino, with an older man named Lawson pulling the strings behind the scenes. After the job, Lawson quietly sneaks away to burn the getaway car, erasing any evidence. Meanwhile, Banks and his crew eagerly open the bag, expecting stacks of cash, only to find a live bomb instead. To make things worse, Lawson has locked them inside with no way out. Realizing they've been double-crossed, Banks desperately works to defuse the bomb. At the same time, Lawson, now in full control of the money, tries to trigger the explosion remotely. But Banks manages to stop it just in time. Now furious and out for revenge, Banks and his crew vow to hunt down Lawson. He orders his hacker, Geary, to track Lawson using a hidden tracker placed in his clothes earlier. Meanwhile, Rhodes is enjoying a quiet day outdoors with his daughter, Kim. She leaves to meet a friend while Rhodes prepares for a hunting trip. But his plans take a turn when he gets a call from the local sheriff. Kim has been caught stealing from a store and needs to be picked up at the station. When Rhodes arrives, Kim is being questioned, but suddenly, Banks and his crew storm in, demanding the sheriff's help in finding Lawson, who is hiding somewhere in a nearby forest. The sheriff refuses, so Banks and his gang take over the station, holding everyone inside hostage, including Kim. Realizing the danger, Rhodes offers to help track Lawson but only if they release Kim and the sheriff first. Banks agrees to let Kim go later, but instead of freeing the sheriff, he kills him on the spot. One of Banks' men tries to take Rhodes by surprise, but Rhodes fights back. Unfortunately, his opponent's gun is empty, forcing him to surrender. Knowing his daughter's life is at stake, Rhodes plays it smart and doesn't reveal that Kim is actually his daughter. With Kim as leverage, they head into the forest to track Lawson. However, they soon discover that Lawson has ditched the tracking device, making it much harder to find him. Kim is visibly scared, but Rhodes reassures her, promising they'll get out of this. At one point, Kim asks to take a bathroom break, but moments later, Rhodes hears her scream. He rushes over and finds one of Banks' men trying to assault her. Furious, Rhodes attacks the men without hesitation, beating him senseless. Seeing this, Banks realizes he has a troublemaker in his crew and orders Jensen to deal with him. The incident makes Banks suspicious about Rhodes and Kim's relationship. To test his theory, he pretends to shoot Rhodes. Panicked, Kim instinctively yells out, confirming his suspicions. Kim isn't just some random girl, she's Rhodes' daughter. Now, the stakes are even higher. As they continue their search, Geary starts complaining about being exhausted and thirsty. Annoyed, Jensen mockingly offers him urine to drink, sparking a fight between them. Seeing an opportunity, Rhodes whispers to Kim to run. She tries to escape, but Banks quickly catches on and stops her. Now, he's done playing games. He warns Rhodes that if he or Kim tries anything again, they'll both be killed on the spot. With no other choice, Rhodes plays along. After a long day of trekking, they stop to rest. Once everyone is deep asleep, Rhodes tries to free Kim's hands, but before he succeeds, Jensen catches him and strikes him on the head. The next morning, they resume their journey toward the Canadian border, assuming Lawson is heading there. Along the way, Rhodes stumbles upon a partially burned map near a campfire, a clear sign that Lawson isn't far. Later, while resting against a tree, Geary makes a gruesome discovery, a dead body. It turns out to be one of Rhodes' hunting buddies. Examining the corpse, Rhodes quickly deduces that Lawson was behind the murder, likely suspecting the man was part of Banks' crew. They finally find Lawson, lying weakly under a tree, clearly wounded. He must have fought Rhodes' friend before killing him. Without hesitation, Banks demands to know where the stolen money is. Even in his battered state, Lawson refuses to say a word and instead mocks them, calling them fools who have been easily deceived. His taunts enrage Dominica, who loses her temper and kills Lawson right then and there. With Lawson dead, Banks and his crew lose some motivation to keep searching for the money. But thinking fast, Kim suggests they check near the river. She hopes that if she keeps them occupied, she and her father might survive longer. Her guess is spot on, and they eventually locate the money. However, it's sitting dangerously close to the edge of a steep cliff. None of Banks' men are brave enough to retrieve it, so Rhodes seizes the opportunity to strike a deal. He'll climb down and get the money if they agree to free Kim. Banks, of course, isn't about to agree so easily. He tells Rhodes that Kim will only be freed once the money is in his hands. With no other choice, Rhodes carefully climbs down and manages to grab the bag of cash. But as soon as he hands it over, Banks shoots him, and Jensen cuts the rope, sending Rhodes tumbling down the cliff. Banks then turns his attention to Kim, ready to kill her. But before he can pull the trigger, Kim quickly claims she knows a shortcut out of the forest. Always thinking about his own survival, Banks decides to spare her, for now. He forces her to lead the way. As they walk, Geary takes an inappropriate interest in Kim. When she rejects him, he snaps and beats her. Dominica, however, won't stand for it. She steps in and gives Geary a brutal beating of his own. Fed up with his behavior, Banks and the rest of the crew abandon Geary, leaving him alone in the wilderness. Meanwhile, Rhodes miraculously survives the fall. Injured but determined, he finds a hidden supply stash and arms himself with a crossbow. As night falls, Banks and his crew, exhausted and starving, decide to rest. However, all their food was in Geary's backpack, which was left elsewhere in the forest. Meanwhile, Geary, now alone, feasts on the supplies, unaware that Rhodes is nearby. With his crossbow ready, Rhodes takes him out without hesitation. Knowing Kim is still with Banks' crew, he presses on. The next morning, as Banks and his team continue, Kim secretly leaves behind clues to help her father find her. At one point, Jensen lags behind to smoke. Seizing the opportunity, Rhodes ambushes him. A brutal fight breaks out, but Rhodes ultimately overpowers him, impaling him with a wooden stake. As Banks and Dominica call out for Jensen, they get no response and decide to move on without him. Kim, however, knows in her heart that her father has won the fight. As they near the Canadian border, Rhodes suddenly reappears, hurling a massive log at Banks. Instead of hitting him, the log strikes Dominica, killing her instantly. Furious, Banks threatens to kill Kim if Rhodes doesn't back off. A gunfight ensues, forcing Rhodes into a tough spot where he tumbles down a ravine. Thinking Rhodes is finally dead, Banks forces Kim to keep moving. But Rhodes isn't finished. Despite his injuries, he gets back up and continues the pursuit. Banks reaches a campsite near the border and, realizing time is running out, knocks Kim unconscious before stealing a motorcycle to flee. Moments later, Rhodes arrives, telling Kim to get help. Chasing Banks to a warehouse, Rhodes engages him in an intense fight, ultimately overpowering him. Just when it seems over, Banks spits insults at Kim. Enraged, Rhodes finishes him off in the most brutal way possible, by ramming him with the motorcycle and blowing him up. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel for more beautiful recaps like this. Put down your comments below to let me know what you think about the turn of events in this storyline. And also give my video a thumbs up to further motivate me. Share too for others to enjoy. Until my next recap, cheers.